Hello and good afternoon. I might be missing the point. I think I might be coming at this more ambiguously in general than you're interested in, but hopefully I can help you narrow down. So for the World's Fair exposition, I went to the one in 1983 in Vancouver, which is probably called an expo or something like that. But knowing the name of it is important. And also knowing that it's not necessarily going to be in English every time they call it something. So the French called theirs I have it written down, they called theirs the Exposition Universelle. So for what it's worth, I think it helps a lot to focus on the individual event. If you're looking for all of the events, there's like a ton of books and things like that. So if you go to the library catalog and just do World's Fair, I don't know if that needs to be possessive, but there's like a ton of books. And a lot of these books are going to be online, or ebook version, and you could go to the references and see where they picked their resources from. But this one looks at like a particular exposition. Oh, cool. Sorry, I get involved in the research. So for what it's worth, there's a lot of stuff that you'll find in books. So if there's a particular one that you're looking at, so like the 1900, which I think is where the Eiffel Tower came from, you could look up books on that and then go through and see what archives that they talked about, and then go and see if those archives are online. Skipping that step, however, I do have a couple of tried and true ideas. So I found one, that was that 1900 Universal Exposition, or Exposition Universelle. At any rate, if you do a search, this starts out archive. You could even do this just out on open web. You could do archive and then World Fair. You're going to get a list of all of the World Fairs or expositions or things like that. And some, we have like a database called Adam Matthews, so you could look in some of the things that we've got. That's a database I can show you, but I think if you just go under A, it's there in our library databases. But if you want to go to a specific archive, the French National Library, if I wanted to look at the French one, or Library of Congress is our kind of equivalent, or the government of Japan has one, you could go to that particular location. You could also go to open, if you're looking in the United States, we have Digital Public Library of America, or DPLA, and you could do World Fair. And this is roughly like 1% of the archives in North America. So it's like they put up their greatest hits essentially. So you can see some of the things that have gone on. There's Brussels with a big S. There's Chicago. But my archive trick works for specific ones as well. And I'll show you the ins and outs of looking for the Paris one. So what I did is I was like, okay, Paris 1900 World Fair. And archive : means look in this context. So you could say photographs, Paris 1900. You could say manuscripts. You could say letters. So all of those different bits and pieces. And then you could find follow up on those things. Archive was the one that I chose because it kind of catches all of those. Once I know that it's called the Exposition Universelle, I can search for that in the archive. And then I can see archive.org. I'm not quite sure what that is. Internet Archive, we know what that is. But if you scroll down far enough, oh Lord. If you scroll down far enough, you'll find actual archives themselves that have these. So here's somebody from Maryland that went there, Archives of American Art. There's Yale, Smithsonian, all the big names. So scroll down past maybe what the commercial or sponsored ones are, and you'll start to get into those. Like I said, though, countries have their national libraries where they house some of like the government-owned things. So if you go to French National Library, which is the Bibliothèque Nationale, I don't speak French. I just pretend to. Searching might be one of those things where you have to know the language or do a Google Translate. But I was looking for archives and manuscripts, so I'm kind of close. And then I did a search for Exposition Universal. And you can see that it's searching. And here you get into what they have presented at the archive. It looks like it's group letters. Is that like the policy where they're writing back and forth to people? I don't know. So you can go in, and sometimes it's just a finding aid. Oh, let's translate to English. Sometimes it's a finding aid for things that exist in an archive. If you run into those, you would reach out to the archive and say, hey, how do I get a hold of this? It might be links to other exhibitions, but these are probably the things that you might be looking for. And you can see the names. Victor Hugo was a big futurist in the 1890s, and so played a big role in this middle industrial era. But this is how I would approach it. Let me know how it goes, because there's probably a bunch of other ideas that we could work on together. And I know archivists as well that might have throw their 2 cents in. So there's Dale's short video.